Were you into like emo music and stuff?
I guess I don't know. Is new metal emo enough?
I would say so. It depends on what bands, because I do think they have traits of emo music in there.
Right. So, my venture into me having my own music, because you grow up and you listen to everybody else's music.
Yeah.
And then, I would listen to TRL, what was his name? Carson Daly.
Yep.
So I'd watch that, and then one of my buddies was like, dude, have you heard of Limp Bizkit? And then my buddy was like, dude, you should hear about Linkin Park. And then I was like, okay, I found my music, my love for rock and roll and my love for rap, because my sister, she loved gangster rap and all that. And I was like, oh, here we go. We're merging these two worlds. And got into like POD and all those cats.
Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory, I think was their first album.
Mm-hmm.
That album still, to me, holds its weight. Like, there's some bands where you're like, okay, this was just like a lot of emo bands I hear today, I'm like, these guys suck. But there's some that still have an album like that's just fucking ahead of its time. And I do think that Linkin Park Hybrid Theory was way ahead of its time. It was like a whole new, like, what the fuck is this type thing.
It literally was.
In 10, 20 years from now, people look back at them and like, that changed music completely at some point in time. I wasn't into those other bands, but Linkin Park I was heavy into in junior high for. That's actually the first CD I ever bought was Hybrid Theory.
Same.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh,
really?
Brothers.
No way. Yeah. And I had to listen to it. Like, I had to sit in my dad's room with headphones like this and put it on like a little player to like sit there and listen to it. And I couldn't go anywhere but that room to hear it. Yeah. And it was like, I would listen to it on repeat.
Oh, yeah.
It was
same.
crazy.
I did. My parents had just bought a stereo system, so I would listen to it through that. And then eventually, like, I got my own room addition to our double wide trailer. And fucking got down on that, and then got a drum set, and I couldn't play along to that, but I played along to some simpler songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to be here. It's recording?
We have been recording.
I did not know. That's cool. That you did it in a very good way, because I didn't. You hit it way before. Then that's good.
That's how I do
That's
it.
a smooth transition, actually. That's very nice.
So we roll right into it, man. There's not a whole lot of structure in here. It's a conversation. I usually tell folks, what are we gonna do here on this one time? Which today my guest is Spencer Gaspar. Gaspar.
Yeah, Gaspar.
Gaspar.
Yeah.
Gaspar.
Yeah. Every time I get brought up, people will say things like that. It's said differently every single time.
Yeah.
But I've been told just Gaspar. That's how my dad says it. And that's
Is it
his last name.
Spanish? What is it?
Yeah, it's we believe it's Spanish.
We believe.
Yeah, like because my grandpa was from Mexico, but we think it derives from Spain because story is that we were actually like there's French in my bloodline. I believe they got conquered by Spain, and then they said, hey, you need to change your name to one of our names or we kill you. Yeah. So we went from Latuf to Gaspar.
Oh, Latuf?
Yeah, it was like Latuf or something originally back in the day.
Latuf, Spencer Latuf.
Yeah, exactly. So it does have so we do think it derives from Spain, but my grandpa was from Mexico.
Yeah.
I know that. And obviously there's connections there too. So
yeah, well, we can have people guess here. Take off or pull your hat back a little bit so they can see your face a little bit, because you have this classic line where you say what is it where people have told you, or a guy came up to you and was like, you look like one of the extras.
The villager. Yeah. That's one of the best roasts. It was actually a Phoenix comic that said that to me.
Oh, really?
And I don't like using jokes that other people say to me.
For sure.
But Josh Harrison was just like, dude, that's funny. And someone literally just, because I was new to the scene. I was just there. Like, they just came up and said it to me, and they didn't even know I was a comedian. He's like, you should start using it. And I was like, okay, I'll use it if I get my own tags. Yeah. So I added tags to it and everything to make it. But that initial part, I gotta say it was someone else. I'm honest about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I get so much inspiration, which is tough. Like, you don't want to watch other people do so much work, or watch them do their sets. But man, there's just so many threads that everything could go down. That you definitely want to tread lightly when we do those things. But man, like you said, you made it your own.
Yeah.
You added all these extra tags, and it's fucking fitting, man.
Yeah. No, it works, and it works well. And then he told me, he's like, you better use that. It's so funny. And I was like, fine, I will. And I do. It's one punchline, and I have more jokes on top of that.
You have
and
tons of jokes.
Yeah, and then like I said, on top of that, it's just like it's kind of just like, all right, add enough they give me one punchline, I do a couple on top of that, I'll be cool with saying it as long as I didn't just use that and just move on. Like this is the end of the joke, you know what I mean? But
yeah. No, and I picked up on that, the first couple times. I think probably by the second time I saw you, I was like, okay, this guy writes.
Yeah.
I could tell like that. Okay, this guy actually. Well, I guess a lot of people write.
Yeah.
But no, you make it a point that every time I see a new bit or that you've been working on, there's extra tags. There's an extra layer of structure to it. And it's evident for sure.
That's cool to hear because half the time I'm like, I don't know if I'm adding anything new. I don't know if I'm being good right now. Does my writing sound good and all that stuff? So that's nice that when people see me, like you're saying, is like, oh, it's different every time. Because sometimes I'll be working on the same joke and I might have like one new tag, but I feel so dumb saying 45 seconds of the joke again for one new tag. Yeah. But if people are paying attention and they like that new tag, that's a good thing, obviously. And they're like, hey, look, I like that new tag. And that's cool.
No,
so
I feel the same where it's like, man, I'm going up with some material that I've done for the last year, but it's what we do. Because, until you put out your own special, until most of the country has seen it, it's like Hybrid Theory, man. It's like the debut album of a band where, they just got signed to this big label and now here's all these songs that they've been performing for 5 to 8 years. And they're perfected, and then bang, it comes in, and it's like in your face. It's like, holy shit. And then for a lot of bands, their sophomore album can come out a little soft just because it was just like, well, dude, there was 10 years that went into this first album, and then you want another hit album within the next year and a half or whatever. Like, no.
It's funny you say that too. It's because I've been doing stand-up for like 7-8 years now, and I've seen people that were ahead of me that I like looked up to that are now like 12 to 14 years in. They're finally gaining success out there. Yeah. And some of them have released Netflix specials. And it's funny seeing them do that because I'm like, I saw you doing this 8 years ago. Yeah. And now it's finally getting released and everyone's like, this guy's awesome. It's like, this guy was fucking awesome back then. 8 years ago. He was crushing 8 years ago, but he just was unknown. And and there's so many of those people everywhere in comedy, in music too, and everything. It's just like these undiscovered people. And then once they're finally out there, they're like, wow, this guy was amazing. And I'm like, I've seen this guy do this jokes 8 years ago. It's crazy. And, but it's cool too. It's like there's a light in the tunnel for people.
It is because I really think with comedy, you just have to find your niche, fans. It's just a matter of time before it catches on and you find your tribe that is like, oh, that's my type of humor versus music. It's a little bit more objective in that sense where it's like, oh, this isn't punk, but with comedy you go up, so you go to a show, you go to a concert, all the bands are going to be in the same vein, right? Unless it's a battle of the bands or like this crazy other fundraiser type thing, right? But you go to a comedy show and it's going to be 5 different styles of comedy. If you book 5 comics, they will all be different in the way that they deliver, the way they structure their jokes. There's setup punchline, there's one-liners, there's storytellers, there's the guys that are really animated, physical, there's people that just stand there and nuances, and there's people that are heavy with the, cursing, it's just, there's all these avenues that people will find funny, and I think it is only a matter of time before you find your group. So if you just keep at it, eventually you will attract that your light will get bright enough where those moths come. And that's what we want. Comics, we want moths to go around our light.
And I think we live in the time to be able to do that. Yeah. I think in the past you had to get on TV. You had to get through these gatekeepers. And now we have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, all these things that, you just keep putting yourself out there. And I think you can find your audience. And I don't do that right now. And I just started realizing I need to start recording myself and putting my clips out there on certain jokes I want to. Yeah. And because in business, they teach you either adapt or die. Yeah. And I had this, like, when I started comedy, it was like, don't put anything out there. Don't wait until, like, you need to wait till someone sees you. If they see you and you're bad, they'll always think you're bad and they'll never, like, want to put you on any shows or anything like that. But now it seems like comedy is just like, put everything out there, see what sticks, see who follows you, see who likes you and all these things. And I need to adapt instead of, like, if I don't do that, I'm just going to be Blockbuster. Like, there's no more Blockbusters. You need to become Netflix. You need to start doing, what is a trend? What is everyone doing?
I think
there
is a Blockbuster in Alaska. So
yeah, there's like one.
You'd have to move to Alaska.
Yeah, there's like one. I'm like trying to think of what stand-up comedian, like Doug Stanhope maybe would be that last guy that's just like, I have my little fan base and I'm cool living in Bisbee, Arizona. Dude, he's an Arizonan guy right here with us. But it's like, it's hard to, it's almost impossible, I feel like, if you don't put yourself out there anymore, especially if you live in Phoenix.
Well, it's so easy to get out there and be seen, but it's so hard to stand out these days. That's the thing. That it has gotten easier to get the potential of eyeballs to see your stuff, but to stand out now, you have to really work at it. You have to bring something unique, which at the end of the day is just going to come with your repetitions.
Yep. Yes, and your point of view, and like that's every person has lived a completely different life. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll go on stage and see people kind of almost doing the same joke. And then, I mean, sometimes it's new comedians like a year or two in. Yeah. And it's like, I think you need to set yourself apart from all those people, have a unique perspective. You could do a joke about dating. It's been done a million times, but your perspective on it is what can change everything. Or you could just take the easy route and just kind of change a few words off a joke you already heard, and then all of a sudden it works. Yeah. But you're not going to separate yourself. And that's what is different. And that's what I've noticed is like a lot of people can get to that one point, even like headline, small shows, all these things. But to really break through and get fans, I think you need to like have something special. Yeah. And not like special, like, oh, this guy's a special person, but like your mind has to work a little differently. And everyone's can. Yes. They just need to be fine with bombing a lot to get there, because it's a lot harder to do that than it is to just stick to something you know works and is simple.
Oh yeah, man. If you're not taking risks, and people pick up on that. You know, oh, this guy is not. He's just low hanging fruit, or just taking the easy route, and people will pick up on that real easy.
Yeah, and you could see it when you do like like when you do if you do club shows and there's like 250, 300 people there. Like you can see the low hanging fruit jokes. They'll get like 50, 75, but the guys that hit that one chord with people, fucking 250, the whole crowd will laugh. And that's, I think, is what the difference is. And that's what sets people apart.
I'm trying to think of how many people I've had laugh at one of my jokes at once. And I probably have to say it's like 50 or 60 people. Like that's as big as a crowd as I've played in front of. I can't imagine what like 500 people feels like. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think 350, 400 is around what I've done before, which is cool. Yeah. It was a year into my comedy career. I hosted a weekend. The first night went terribly. Yeah. It was really bad. Ooh. Yeah. It was so bad that I was hoping that the guy would call me and just be like, hey, you don't need to host tomorrow. You just like, don't show up. And then, but he just hit me up and be like, hey, that was fun. I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, oh, fuck. All right. So then
people know too, like the people in the industry, they know. Like I've been watching a lot of Kill Tony lately, and you know he rags on when someone I've picked up on a particular type of comedian or person that goes up there that he does not like, and it's the pretentious people that they might have been funny in a bit of there, but it's just the way they carry themselves that it's just like this arrogance that it's like, for what, dude? Yeah. And but everything else is just like, let's see, there's a thread. Everybody has a thread, and he tries to pull it in the interview and kind of see where it can go and see if you will roll with the punches and all that. Is everybody does have it inside of them. Yeah. It's just being able to tap into it.
Yeah. And it's, I think, like we said earlier, it's like as long as you're comfortable with bombing to get to that point, because I realized that like when I was in LA, I'd see a lot of people doing like the same things, because in LA there's factions, there's like there's alt comedy, there's all different types of comedy, and they would kind of stick to their own faction, do the same kind of like inside jokes to each other, and always do fine. But then when you go out into the real world, it wouldn't work with real people as well as it did with your little group. And the whole thing is to like try to get as many people as you can while sticking to yourself, right? And I realized like when you stay within your own faction, you're kind of hurting yourself, because you don't grow from that. You're when you're playing it safe, and you're just like, I know this will work, and I don't want to bomb, so I'm just going to stick to what I know and what will work, and that will be it. And then you don't grow. And I I've been doing, like I said, stand up 7-8 years. I'm still just doing open mics mainly. I'm starting to get booked out here a lot more, which is awesome, and I love it.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but I'm still just this nobody guy. But this is just how I've observed. I like to observe people and look around, and that's what I've realized. And I think I try to be myself as much as possible and say what jokes I think are crazy. Like I'll be at fucking Woodshed doing a joke on time travel. And I remember one time I got chased to laugh really hard. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a fucking joke on time travel and this shit ain't going to work. And then I saw Chase laughing in the corner seat bar because it's like, yeah, this is the worst place to do it. But it's like, I got to get this out there. I got to figure out how to say it. And I think I know stand-up enough to this point where I just need to get the words out and I will know if I'm in front of a crowd that's actually paying attention, not on cocaine and drunk out of their mind playing pool.
And Woodshed? No.
Yeah. Dude. That's one of the most wild places I've ever been. Woodshed and Gracie's. They're like two wild-ass places out here. Fun.
Yeah.
But doing comedy there, it's pretty rough sometimes.
For sure.
And it's even scarier when everyone, I don't know if you've had to have seen this at one point in time, where there's like a collective mindset where everyone just stops and pays attention to the comedian. Has that ever happened to you? Where we're just like, what the fuck just happened? Why? Like the people talking over here and the guys playing pool, they all stopped and looked at you at one time. Yeah. It's like, are we in a simulation during this time period? Like that is so weird. It is weird. And it happened to me once in the middle of one of my jokes. And I was like, you already missed the premise. This is not going to go anywhere.
The punchline ain't going to be.
Yeah. But I've seen that happen to other people. And it's like you get smacked in the face. You're like, wait, why you guys listening to me? Keep on talking. So, because you're not gonna understand any of this shit that I'm about to say.
Yeah, because it's not just a quick da 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 da. No, it's again, you're a writer. You have, I think, your mind in that sense works very similar to the way my mind does too, where it's like, okay, like where can I go with this whole idea and make a 3-minute bit out of it?
That is funny you say that too, because I remember you have your football joke.
Yeah.
And you did it. I forget where you did it, but it did really well.
Yeah.
And then you did it at Woodshed, and you do like act outs and stuff in it, and you like it wasn't going as well at Woodshed, but you stuck to it and you just went with it. And I saw that you're just like, I just know it's done well. I know what I can do with this. I'm just gonna fucking power through this and go.
Yep.
And I told you, I was like, this worked before. This is not. They're not gonna. If they didn't stick with you from the first 30 seconds, your next 2.5 is gonna be rough. But you stuck with it, so that was good to do.
And that my mind works that way just because I'll remember more of my jokes that way. Versus like I can't just go up there with like, oh, I'm gonna tell these 20 jokes. Like my mind will go blank. Versus, well, I'm gonna go up with these 2 story bits that I have. And I did that bit at JP's too, and there was like 3 people in the audience by that point, and the rest there was like 5 other comics. And I remember Anna Mesa came up and she was like, dude, hats off to you for just sticking through it and performing. And I mean, the bit kind of ends, or there's a point in there where I'm like I'm on my knee and my hand is up a dude's ass. Like I'm like this, I haven't done that bit in a while, but yeah, man, you just gotta full send, and people will appreciate that. The host of those mics will see it because they're like, okay, this person is really going for something. They're missing the mark a bit, but hey, we see it, because you see so many people, and you're hosting a mic now, so you see the iterations that people go through. Yeah.
Hosting mic is funny too, because you see the ups and downs of that mic in that one night and every single night and all these things. And it's like, it can be really great. It can be really bad. It can be great and bad in the same night. It's a very funny thing. And I do like hosting though, because it forces you to watch everybody. Yeah. Because as with most comedians, you're hit a mic, try to go to the next mic, then
you're absorbed
with
your own shit.
But at that, I have to watch everybody, and I'm like, holy shit, there's like a lot of people with pretty good jokes. They're funny, and it kind of makes me feel better. Like, oh, these guys are like, I'm just walking around and be like, oh, what's going on in the scene? Well, I kind of know now. I've seen almost everyone come through BRI now, and I'm like, they all are pretty fun. Like everybody has jokes and all these things, and it's nice to have to be forced to sit and watch everybody and like be like, oh, they are good. Like they're getting on shows because they are funny and all these things. You know what I mean? Like,
did you witness my first heckle last week?
What was it there?
The lady.
Oh, the Mexican people up front, right? Yes.
She was not happy.
Yeah.
Well, she walked in
because you were doing well.
Yeah, but she walked in and she's like, oh, is this karaoke? And we're like, no, it's stand-up comedy. And she immediately was like, ugh. And the guys were like, oh, let's stick around. It's stand-up comedy. So she was not having it to start. And then Michael Densmore was up there, and she was just like staring at him like, that. And I was like, oh, dude, this chick is not having a good time. And then they walked off. And then during my set, she comes up, walks up. I didn't even notice that she was there because I was addressing the people from New York. And she like grabs the mic and now one of my rules is like, get the fuck out of here, dude. You're not like, no, this is not cool. And that's the issue with the place without a stage, is that people do feel like they can just walk up, you know. But you know, for me, it's like, okay, in that scenario anymore, like, no, go. This is not your thing, like, push her. But yeah, she was like, she called me out, man. She's like, in Spanish, me llamo Juan Montoya y vales verga, güey. Basically, it's like, and you're nothing but shit, is basically what she said.
That's funny.
And then I did not do a good job of trying to roast her, but I was like, man, you're a Mexican chick with blonde hair. You're trying to fit in with all these white people, basically what I told her in Spanish. But man, that was my first heckle, man. I need to post it. And I did end up recording it, but only audio. Okay. So I'm thinking I'm going to maybe make an animation of Shrek wearing a blonde wig. I think that was pretty good.
That's funny because you've been doing it, you said, over a year now, and that's your first heckle. I feel like heckling's gone down a lot. Yeah. Heckling used to be like a thing. It's like in comedy, it's like, got to deal with these hecklers. Yeah. But I think it's becoming a more an art form that people respect a little bit more. And they're like, let's listen. And it, which is kind of cool. It's not that old school, like, all right, get ready for the hecklers. Even like when I started, like that mic or that show I was saying, where the 350 to 400 people crowd, I was only a year in when I did that weekend, and I remember they were like, okay, so we got this over here, and this over here, you're the host, control that. And I was like, oh fuck, like I'm not ready to do this. And even I could tell all the guys, like, I'm this 24-year-old kid, and all the guys are like 30 to 35, all 8 to 12 years in, like comics, really good comics. And then I could see them being like, oh, this guy's not going to be able to handle this stuff. And it made me feel not good. But the first night was terrible. Yeah. Even they didn't do well. It was very rough. But the second night, it was incredible. And that's when there was like, you know, some hecklers and stuff like that. But you learn to deal with it. Yeah. And honestly, you can, as you go on, you can just have things in your back pocket for certain scenarios.
Yes. Yeah. With the experience, you know, you can have like quick little like comebacks that you can almost have them recycled.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're playing a different room, it's a different audience. But you know, there's so many of people are the same type of person. Yep. That you can just, hey, there you go.
Yep. When I lived in LA, I'd go to the Comedy Store and I'd see like some of the pros do the same crowd work, and they would lead them into bits. And I was like, that's how pros work. Like they made it look seamless. Yeah. And like it's obviously not the same person, but kind of looks the same. Probably have the same likes and dislikes and things. Yeah. And then they'll just like go to that person, perfectly sets up their little crowd work joke to go into their joke that they want to do. And it's amazing to see people like that at that level work so like close. And that's one of the big perks of being in that area, I think, like LA and stuff, being able to watch how those guys work. Yeah. But like we were discussing how like crowd work and things like that, it's like a lot of them have it in their back pocket. And that's when I realized like, oh, they do. Like you think from a normal crowd standpoint, it's like, oh, this is all just off the cuff and they're just saying whatever. But it's like, not most of the time it's not. They're just, they're master manipulators up there with the English language, just controlling the whole crowd. It's amazing. Yeah, what the really good ones do.
Yeah, they do make it look seamless, where it's like they're just up there having a good time. And that's why like some people can take heat for the things that they're saying, because they're like, well, you really believe this? It's like, no, I just think this is a funny thing to say, and I think you should probably laugh, or you might laugh at it, but it seems so natural that, you know, they're like, oh, this is what you really think.
Yeah. No. I think also, I mean, their fame and everyone knowing them helps a little bit, I think, with their, like, I remember there's one night that was like really bad there, and then Mark Maron got on stage after it was like 2 comedians bombed, and he just sat on the stool and just looked at everybody, and you could see it just felt like the whole room got calm, and everyone's like, okay, he's gonna know how to stir us out of this. And he did. He just started doing crowd work, talking to people, and he just knew exactly this, boom, 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 and all of a sudden the room's back, and then he goes into his jokes. I was like, holy shit. That's crazy.
God, man, that's so good. Yeah. Because I've been thinking I did really well at my set in Rocky Point, considering what had just transpired. I did really well. But then in my head, I'm like, man, was I up there just doing bits, or was I really connecting with the crowd, you know, and having a little bit more, fun with them, instead of like, hey guys, I got some funny things to say, Raj, listen to my stories, and it's like the balance of the two. And that is what makes it a good show, is that you're able to tie in other things that happen during the show from other sets, or people in the crowd. That just comes from experience and reps. The more you do it, the more you have things in your toolbox that you can go back to, go to the catalog. Okay, I got this kind of person, or this relationship, it looks like this here, like, let me bring them in. That's part of like the band thing that I haven't been so well doing in the comedy world. I mean, I haven't been booked for many gigs. That's the thing. A lot of places I'm at are open mics as well. So but like mingling with the crowd and then getting them involved, so that way when they see you on stage, you're like, oh, that guy's cool, he was just talking to us, or and then they can pay a little bit more attention because you've broken the barrier.
Dude,
a bit.
Literally saying hi to them when they walk into the show, they will recognize you on stage and be like, hey, like, that's it, that's all you'd need, and then you're already on their side, almost in a weird way. So that's true. Like,
so you mentioned sketch comedy. Who's this gentleman back here again?
That's Trevor Moore. He's probably the most known guy from The Wise Kids You Know. A sketch group. That's probably what got me into comedy. I would love to have a sketch group and write sketches and film them and stuff. That was my main love.
Okay, hold on. You said it in here now. Because I need to make something happen, because I've said the same thing to multiple other comics. So me and you right now, we need to fucking put something down.
We should.
And reach out to a couple of the other guys and make it happen.
Yeah, I think sketch comedy is something that a lot of people do podcasting and things like that. Podcasting and stand-up is like the main two things people do. I think sketch comedy is kind of like
another animal, dude.
Yeah, but I think it's so good. Like especially with YouTube now, that you could just put on YouTube and start getting people to follow that. And it's fun and cool. And like when I wanted to do in school, I wanted to be a film editor. So I took editing classes and all that stuff. And I feel like that's timing. That's kind of like stand up, but visually.
It is.
And that's what I loved about it. And the reason why I got turned off from it is because they told me, like, when you get a job, they tell you what to do. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, it could be cut differently and it will be better. It will make this funnier.
Well, listen, dude, I hate editing.
Yeah.
So you have all the control.
Well, that's what I could sit and edit like right now, and that's the one thing in my life that I can do it for like 5 hours straight, and it feels like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know what it is about it. And that's why I love sketch comedy, I think, the most, is because not only are you get to play with jokes, you're writing, you get to play the acting, visuals, and you get to do with the editing. You can literally like, you can be saying something, but I could be that little fucking flamingo over there. We have on that flamingo with the camera. So whatever you're saying, it's funnier for some weird reason. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love. It's like, it's adding a third thing to comedy. And that's what I think is cool about sketch. And I don't talk a lot. I don't really go out and talk to people, or it's not that I don't want to. It's just like, I'm more of a quiet, reserved person, I think. And it's nice that you can say that to me right now, because you're doing your podcast. You seem like a guy that you do shit all the time. Like, and so it's like, it's nice to have someone that would want to do that. That's a go-getter too, because I really would love to get a sketch group together. And I think that's something that is we should cheers to that, right?
Yes, you heard it here.
A sketch crew. I've talked to a couple of people just about ideas that I have in mind for like writers and things like that.
Let's mention definitely the names that are not going to be a part of this.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. That way, as they're listening, they don't get their hopes.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
No. I've mentioned that a lot, and you know what? Like, a lot of my premises and bits that I bring up to Sheila, she'll be like, "Oh, that's a great sketch."
Yeah.
Because my mind does work that way. It's very visual in that sense, and my mouth has trouble formulating the perfect way to just form these sentences to convey the image in my head. But yeah, I grew up watching Mad TV like crazy, a little bit of SNL, definitely more Mad TV, but Kids in the Hall. I'm trying to remember the other one I would watch, but it was a lot of comedy, man. And I never pictured myself as a comedian, but the more I think on it, I was like, yeah, dude, I was heavy into it. it feels weird to say I'm a comedian, I'm funny, I'm gonna be on stage, listen to my perspective because it's unique, it's this and that. But you know, the older you get, the more people you talk to, you're like, oh yeah, we do think a little bit differently.
Yeah, that is true. And I rarely call myself a comedian too. Yeah. It just feels weird.
It does.
I don't like to. It tries to make you feel like, oh, I'm different. I'm this. I'm that. And also, to be honest, like some things that bother me about too would be like there's people like that are 1 month in, and then they get their headshots, and then they're all of a sudden their Instagram's like, I'm a comedian, and like I don't want to be like. I want people to think I'm like fucking this guy right here that's like done comedy like twice and he's like walking around. So I just kind of am very quiet about it. I'm like, I do stand up. That's what I tell people. I'm like, yeah, I do stand up. But as far as a comedian, I don't fucking know. You tell me. I guess
maybe instead of comedian, we can say we're a came-edian because we're not coming. We already came.
Yeah. Yeah. We can say that.
Do not. I don't edit my podcast, but I'm gonna edit that out. No, just messing.
Oh, you don't?
No.
That's cool.
No, yeah. So that intro, you saying, "Are we live?" Oh yeah, it's gonna be like 2 minutes.
And it's so fun. I didn't want to be that person because that's a lot of podcasts. You're like, "Are we going right now?" Yeah. You literally did that because you're like, "Hey, we'll do 5 minutes. We're gonna hang out, go piss, do whatever, and then we'll come back and start." And then I really thought it was gonna be like, "Oh, here's a start."
I could tell too because I had told you to keep the mic up and you just had it out. We're just kind of hanging out, but you know, I just like to go right into it. Let's just fucking hang out.
Yeah,
that's it, man.
That's a good. It's a good flow, and it went into it seamlessly. So,
all right, man. Sketch comedy. So that the Whitest Kid You Know was the first thing that kind of got you into the comedy world.
Yeah, I think they're amazing. Like how we were talking about Linkin Park Hybrid Theory ahead of its time. I think their sketches were. You could go today and it's like, holy shit, these guys are fucking amazing.
I need to watch it. I mean, I've had multiple people, you know, bring it up to me, and I don't know where I was during those years. What year were they heavy?
Probably like 04 to like 08, 09.
Okay,
maybe.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the IFC channel?
IFC, not a whole lot. No.
Yeah, no. It's an independent film channel, and they played a lot of like weird films. Mm-hmm. I used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. It's the only channel on this is such a 14-year-old thing to say, but it's the only channel that didn't have it let everything go. F words were fine. Yeah. You could see titties on there, and that's mainly why I watched that channel a lot. I was like, can't see it anywhere else, but IFC you'll show it. So, but they also had the Whitest Kids You Know, and I would watch it over and over and over again, and it was like my little safe space. If you're in trouble and you're grounded or whatever, you could just sit at home and watch comedy. And I think that's what made me fall in love with comedy.
Yeah. 0406. Yeah. That was it. What up, W? You were president back then.
Yeah.
Simpler times. Yeah. I see. 04. So I graduated high school in 06. So I know I was just heavy into sports and school and trying to get fucking laid. I know. I was heavy into South Park.
Oh yeah,
that South Park. But you know what, man? Like, you know, IFC. I do remember, you know, coming across and watching a couple things. But that, you know, people that and friends that I've had in the past that, you know, watched like that type of entertainment, to me are some of the most intelligent people, man.
Really?
Just because you thought differently. You were like, man, I don't like. The mainstream over here is like, all right, that's cool, sure, but like this is making me think in a different way, you know, and that's why, you know, that wouldn't be like on a big broadcasting network just because they're like, you know, we're not going to get the most eyeballs on this, you know.
Yeah, they play some weird shit on there. Yeah. And I'd watch it all, like Requiem for a Dream. That's one of my favorite movies.
There you go.
And it was one of my favorite movies because as someone that wanted to do film editing, I thought it was ahead of its time. Yeah. The way it would go into 4 boxes and the music that tie into it and just bring one of the boxes up and shift. Like, to me, that movie is amazing. A Clockwork Orange was played on there. Like, I was 14 watching that over and over. That's fucking weird.
Come on.
You shouldn't be watching that movie, but here I am just like, oh, this is cool, right? Yeah. And I'm like watching it. Like, but they did play weird movies, which I ended up falling in love with, and I did one day want to be like a film editor or a director, but when
never too late, Spence.
Yeah, well, the thing that deterred me from that, as it deterred me from wanting to film edit, when they basically you get a job and they just tell you where to cut it, which is like that takes out all the art from it. Why would I want to do that? Yeah. My first like long-term girlfriend, her dad was a director in LA, and he heard I wanted to do it, and he's like, "This is what it's like." He's like, "Oh, you want to do a movie?" these people are going to get money, give you money. Then these other people are going to get money, they're going to give you money. And these other people are going to get money, give you money. And then you're going to give them the script, and they're going to change everything about it. And then your movie that you thought was your movie is all of a sudden all their movies, and you're going to have to direct something that's a piece of shit and not what you want to do. He's like, just so you know, if you really want to do it for the art, unless you have millions of dollars, he's like, it's going to turn into everything that they want so that they can make money off of you. And that is what made me not want to do. Yeah, no, that's that just sounds what a lot of things are like, too.
You know what sounds good? This I want to make this recipe here, and then you're like, well, I don't have the money for the ingredients, and then you find people that, I'll pay for your ingredients. And if I have a place at the table, right? Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna cook this. Like, we're good, right? He's like, yeah. But instead of turnips, maybe just grab some yams or something. Yeah. It's like what? And then you have this abomination of a meal sitting in front of you that is not what you anticipated on cooking.
Yeah, it was me being young and naive, thinking that it was like, you could just do whatever you want and you write movies and you just give it to them. No, it'll get changed by the people that have their hands in that.
Yeah,
and it's very rare, I think, that people can do what they really want to.
Well, nowadays, man, with phones and YouTube,
things
and
have changed.
Things have changed.
It's really cool. Wasn't there that one guy that filmed just a movie on his iPhone?
I don't know which one it was, but
but it's like, you can do a lot now. Like even just taking a photo on your iPhone. When I first started college, the iPhone photos now are probably better than what the fuck those guys were using on the $1,000 cameras back in that day.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. So it's an interesting world. Everything's shifting, but almost in the right direction for creativity, if you really think about it.
No, it is, because we are hungry. I don't want to say they're, like I'm not, part of this consumer base. Like we're hungry for a unique take, a unique look, just something different. We're almost so desensitized to like all this cool shit, but we're missing some authenticity.
Yeah. And I sometimes I wonder too if all these big like corporations and they're worried because now they're gonna have to deal with people that can get famous without them, people that can make it without them. Like what will Comedy Central do if all of a sudden like all these people are making sketch shows on YouTube and they're getting it, and then they're like, hey, why don't you come with us? And you read what they're saying, and it's just like, wait, I know it's way better on just YouTube. I can make way more money and do what I want, because you guys are gonna put that's why it's funny. Like on SNL, sometimes people are like, oh, SNL's not funny or this or that, but it's like these people are working inside of a box. I'm sure if you took them out of SNL, they can write like amazing whatever shit. But they're stuck into having to, like, I'm sure there's like 1,000 jokes that are great that get thrown up. Be like, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. They have to stick to what they're told to do. So, and that's very hard. It's basically cutting off your arms and legs and trying to do something with it. And it's interesting, and I think how the world's going, it is nice. Like in the beginning, I didn't like it. I'm like, what is this posting all your clips online and doing this and that? And now I'm realizing, like, you need to get a fan base. Like, I'm never going to get a special just doing open mics here in Phoenix. But if I can get a bunch of good clips together and start posting online, maybe I can start getting people to follow me. Maybe I can start getting better shows and headlining maybe eventually one day. And then you got to slowly build from there. And I have the opportunity to now. Yeah. Because before, the gatekeepers just told you, you're good, you're not, you're this, you're that. And
you get passed.
Yeah, you get passed, and it's just if they like you. It doesn't even. You could kill constantly, but if they didn't like you, they're not going to pass you. They'll just pass some other guy, and like sometimes killing didn't even matter. Like, it's crazy. It's a weird world, but now I think it is open to people who want to do podcasts, to people who want to do stand-up, sketch comedy. Like like you said, you can get your following, and it's nice. It's cool.
Man, when did you experience your first big bomb?
Well, bombing was always a part of it, right in the beginning.
Sure.
I think that weekend when I had my first weekend in front of 350, 400 people, bombing in front of that many people was bad.
Man, and you had to bomb multiple times, right? Because
the first night, the first show went okay. The second show was really bad. And that second show, because there was like a 7 show and like a 9. When I walked off stage, some like guy in a business suit followed me off the stage, and he grabbed me and he's like, "Hey, hang in there, man." He was like, hang in there, dude. And I was like, thanks. It doesn't make me feel better. Like, I know you're doing that because it was really bad.
Did he tell you to take off your belt? Like,
yeah.
You're not gonna,
But no, it was like, it was rough. And I think that's like my first actual bomb where it's like, you can bomb in front of 20, 30 people, whatever, fuck it. But like when you're in front of like a comedy club group of people and a couple of hundred, that hurts. Yeah. That hurts pretty bad.
Is that why you moved out of that place?
Yeah. No, that's why when I was at the Madhouse in San Diego. That's why when I was driving back to Orange County, I was like, I hope this guy calls me and says, don't come back. But I'm glad he didn't, because then literally the next day was probably one of the most fun times I've ever had in comedy. Wow. Every night.
Do you think you were like, I already did so bad the last night, or was the night before?
Yeah.
That you were just like, fuck it.
Yeah, and it's just like an obligation. I said I would do it, so I worked that weekend, so I would. And I know comedy is not fun sometimes, and you got to go through that. So it's like if I stopped then and said, hey, you should get some other hosts, it's like, then you're not cut out for it if you can't, you know what I mean?
Imagine how they would have looked at you.
Yeah, so I was just like, he didn't say anything. Maybe that's just, it is part of it. So I was like, all right, go back. And yeah, it was a bet. Like, I remember the club owner, he saw me and he was like, let's do a shot together. He's like, tonight's awesome. The Madhouse treated their comedians, at least at that time, very well. It was really cool. And they didn't really pay, but you got all the alcohol, the food, you wanted all that stuff. If you had a credit, like on TV, they would pay you, but outside of that, you didn't get money. But it was a cool place, and I had a lot of fun and met a lot of good comics who a lot of them are like doing really good now. San Diego had a fucking great scene during that time period. Brian Simpson came out of there. Taylor Tomlinson came out of there. They had a lot of good comics.
Nice. So would that have been the late 2000s or early 2010s?
That would be like I think I was like 2015 when I was there. Yeah. So 2015, 2016, probably around there.
Nice.
Yeah. But they just had like clubs, and they put up their comedians a lot at those clubs. So it was like home growing, and there was a lot of killers there, and it was cool to just be able to delve down there and see what they had. Yeah. And then that's the thing, man. Like how I've been in Minneapolis, I've been all over. It's like you got to like stand up to continue to doing it, because if you go all over, you realize there's just really good, really fun people all over. Yeah. Like people are at these mics out here. We have like 3 or 4 going on tonight, 20, 30 guys at each mic. And then think about Seattle, then think about Portland, then think about LA, how there's like 20 mics going on with like 40 people at each mic. And think like, how is this even going to happen? You don't even know. So just do it if you like it. Because if you're thinking like, I'm going to make it, you're just like, there's fucking thousands and thousands and thousands of people right now working their ass off to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Deservingly so.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. So as long as you like it and are fine with whatever you're doing right now, doing that for a while, that's what will keep you going, I think.
For sure. I think it's just the opportunity to create, man. Because at the end of the day, like, you're not going to like everything that you do. Like you said, like you wanted to edit, but then it's like, oh man, imagine editing for someone else's shit. At least right now you're doing your material.
That is true. And maybe that's the thing why I fell in love with it.
Oh yeah, that's why I did.
Yeah, it's because you're literally the only person, you're the only one telling you what to do on there. Yeah. That's it. And that is, I didn't even think about that. That's true. Yeah. That's probably why I was like, oh, this is the one art where no one can say shit, dude. Yeah. No one can tell you shit. You just go up there and do it.
And I come from team sports, and I've always liked that. You know, I've always liked the team aspect of just sports, you know, the ones I played in, because, you know, it was like this whole team coming together for one goal, you know, but it's like, you could always be like, I could blame it on someone else. You know, oh, well, that person didn't do this, you know, that, you know, with this, it's like, nah, man, it's all on you, dude.
Yeah.
It's all on you. And with that being said, you know, it's exactly what you want to do. So at the end of the day, you're doing what you want to do, but if it's not going the way you like, there's no one else to blame but yourself.
Back to the drawing board, see what went wrong. And that's that. And even like crowds, people can say crowds can be bad, and I will admit sometimes they're tired. If they've seen 25 comics, they're going to be tired. But I've seen every single room get won. You can win them over somehow, but there's ways to. There's certain things, special moments. So it's like with repetition and with years, you can understand how to do each room and do what you want, or to try to do the best possibly.
Yeah, that's so true. What other passions do you have, man, besides editing and comedy, or hobbies? I want to say passions is a little bit.
Honestly, nothing, man. I just work my job. I do go to the gym a lot. I can't lift weights too much because my elbow surgeries and stuff. But
when did you have that elbow break? How did it happen?
It happened at this house right outside up there. I was
said the wrong shit to your girl. That's
yeah,
right, man.
yeah.
I saw her, man. She's pretty built, dude.
Yeah. No, I was like on the second story trying to fix when the screen. My HOA was like, you got to put your screen back up on your window. Got blown off during a monsoon.
Yeah.
I was up there, slipped off, came down, shattered my elbow.
What do you mean? It fell like 10 feet?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, straight on my elbow. I was like moving, basically head first, but I blocked it all on my elbow. Shattered to pieces, got 6 screws put in there, and then had my second surgery about a month and a half ago to get the screws removed. But it's been a long process. It's definitely my worst injury. I've had multiple broken bones, torn ligaments, this and that, but this was the first one where it's like it's like one of those things where like if I got injured in November, like if I was a pro hockey player, I'd be like, oh, he's out for the season. Like that's like he's not back. He'll be back next year because I'm still in physical therapy and I just had my second surgery and it's been rough.
Oh yeah, 2 surgeries just because they got to clean it up, right?
Yeah, they had to take out all the pins and stuff because elbows, it's more common for the pins to start coming out and blocking your movement. Like see that movement you're doing right there? I broke my humerus and my radial head, so this one it's affecting my radial head, and there's a lot of grinding. Like I could probably put it on the mic right now and do this, and you could probably hear
it.
Do it. All right, let's see. Do you kind of hear it cracking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I messed it up pretty bad.
It's like I just poured milk on Rice Krispies.
Yeah. There's hopefully that scar tissue, not the lack of cartilage there and bone on bone, but I'll find out in like a year. They told me to wait a year because especially with 2 surgeries, there's a lot of inflammation and scar tissue in there right now.
What I didn't realize, and it wasn't until like I watched, I forgot what I think it was like just a mannequin, like a skeleton mannequin or whatnot. But like the bones go like this, right? And then when you rotate this way, they cross over each other, and it's just like, oh, dude, like they're like, for some reason it just feels wrong, like looking at it like that. But that is naturally how the body does it. And
I see what you're. Yeah, that is weird.
They cross, right? So here, I think they're straight, and as soon as you rotate it, now this one's over and this one's under this way.
Oh yeah.
So was the hardest part having to learn how to masturbate with your left hand?
Yeah, that was the funnest part. Actually, it was all new. It was like, oh, look at.
You draw lipstick on you like it's a new girl.
Yeah, It was honestly not going crazy, man. I was like, this is my dominant hand. I couldn't do shit. Like fucking, even when I got my cast off and I could barely bend it like this. And it's like, I couldn't eat a taco. I was like,
oh no.
Like, yeah.
What?
I usually drink with my left hand now. Like I always hold beers with my left hand because I had to do it for like 5-6 months.
Yeah.
It's really weird. But it sucked. And, I'm almost done with it. Yeah. And can move on with life or whatever. But lifting weights is still, I can't. I want to lift more.
Yeah.
I can't. That's probably my other hobby would be like, I was a runner in college or high school.
Like long distance or?
Yeah, long distance and track. I was pretty good at that stuff. And soccer I was good at.
That's right.
But I just, besides, that's all my thing is working full time and then just focusing on comedy. Yeah. I feel like you have to be obsessed with comedy. If you really want to do it, you just have to immerse yourself.
You do.
And my first like year or two, I didn't. I had other things. I was like trying to finish college, and I didn't realize what it really took to do it. And all my friends I started with were immersing themselves in it, and that's why a lot of them are doing a lot of cool shit right now. And I'm lucky to have them as friends just to see what's going on. And I could, when they come to town, when they're doing cool shit out here, I get to hang out with them and see like, oh, you can do something with this, and like pick their brains and see what's going on. And but you really, if this is something people want to do, it's just think about it all the time, write all the time. Writing, like we talked about earlier, I really appreciate you saying that, because I really do now. I used to not, but now I'm like, that is such a key part. And like you can just change one word or set up your premise from this angle to that angle, and all of a sudden it changes everything. Now all of a sudden it works. Now all of a sudden just your first 2 lines that were setting up your joke, now there's a punchline in that that can get everything else going. And it's absurd, like how much you can constantly learn about stand-up just by doing it again and again and again.
Just flexing it and trying it differently. It's like practicing a free kick. You know, practicing like you're trying to hit that corner. Okay, what if I hit it this way and I curve it in? What if I hit it straight on? You know, it's all those angles, which is something that I saw come through in improv, where I took an improv class and the guy was like, the instructor was like, okay, give me an example of this, right? In it, and then he would hit a bell and he'd be like, another example, bang, another example, and your mind is forced to like, you know, go more funny, more wild with it each time, because you're just having to like, oh, well, that was funny, but then he goes, no, give me another example, you know, and it's like you just go, and you know, every now and then I don't write as much as I was like when I first started last year, but turning off your stereo and just running through these bits and just like working on different ways on the inflection, on the delivery, and riffing there and kind of seeing where it goes, and then bang, there you go. What did I forget where I was. I don't know if it was on I think it was on a podcast. Yeah, we were riffing. I was John White, my last one, and I got a new tag for my Middle Eastern, you know, people can mistake me for Middle Eastern. And I go, yeah, I'll take that towel off my head and dry my wet back off with it. And I was like, just riffing off of that, like just me and him conversation. I was like, I gotta remember that, because that's a new tag to my series of jokes there. But yeah, just riffing, just flexing that, and you see it all the time in comedies and in sketches where it's like, okay, this is the premise, this is the line, and then you'll perform that, and then it's like, okay, now experiment. And you'll see all those bloopers, those outtakes with like Will Ferrell and I'm drawing blanks on the other guy, Danny McBride, and all those guys, where it's like just next, you know? Fuck.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because like all bits that worked okay, but they were only like a minute. Mm-hmm. And then I'm starting to do a new thing now where it's like I'm trying to explore my older bits that worked but weren't like good to me now, years later, and I'm starting to grow them and make them better. And now like I have a bit about blind people, and it's starting to do a lot better now.
Oh yeah, I love that one. I told you that.
It's which the blind people have, which was faith and then all that stuff that follows. Yeah. So all that stuff that follows, like 80% of that joke is new that I just started writing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And it's like, because I always had that beginning, which I thought was funny, but it's only like 2 punches and that's it. And now it's like 2 to 3 minutes. Yep. And it's like that came with me understanding how to write a little bit more and understanding what to do and how to go down different directions with it. Yeah. And it's cool. Like once you start, it's like a language that you understand the more and more you do it and the longer you do it. And like sometimes now, it's like I have a joke and I'm like, 2 years ago, I never would have been able to fix this or make this something. And now I know exactly what to do. Mm-hmm. Like today when I was writing at the coffee shop, I was like, I have this joke and it's humorous, but there's not clear punchlines. I was like, oh, I know what I need to do. And boom, boom, boom. Now what was only 1 punch, there's like 3 plus tags, and it just elongated something that should have been 30 seconds to like a minute and a half. Now I got to test it out, get the wording correct, the timing and all that stuff. But I'm pretty sure it's going to work. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it will work. And it's nice to be able to do that. Mm-hmm.
Well, the more we do it, the more you have the idea. Well, okay, this is funny. Like that, like your line where it's like, you know, blind people, they have to have a lot of faith on who dresses them. Yeah. It's like, oh, obviously that's funny. That's a good premise, you know, this and that. But that's kind of like the obvious, like, yeah, obviously, like there you go, right? But then like where you're going with it from there, it's like, oh, and then you're like, wow, that makes so much sense, but my mind would have never gotten there unless you brought it up that way.
Yeah, and I think I'm not trying to say it's like a good joke or anything, but that's the separation of, like you said, that first part is like like, of course. Yeah. But then you need to get people, I think the best jokes are when they get people being like, that's right there. Why didn't I think of that? And then it's that like that light bulb moment. And I think those are the ones that are good. Yeah. but I'm liking where that one is going.
Oh yeah, no, it's great, fun. Man. I heard it when I heard it at the chill room. Yeah, I had to immediately tell you, like, that is a great Bramass.
Yeah,
and that's why, like, I don't, you're a writer. I think people that are actual writers, don't get upset at premises being stepped on. They don't get upset about a lot of that stuff that, like, all these other comedians would, because it's like, why are you holding on to this one thing where it's like there's so much of the world out there to be able to talk about anyways, man.
Yeah.
And if you're making it unique, you're making it your own, nobody else can step on that, man. They'll try, they'll dance on it, but at the end of the day, it's you're unique,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal. Comedy's a crazy thing.
It really is, man. I got to get fucking writing more. Do you use marijuana in a sense to write at all? Or?
That's funny. I don't, but I do microdose on shrooms. Oh, yeah. And Saturdays are my biggest writing days. So I usually hit the gym, go for a run or whatever, get back, rinse off, take my shrooms, get to the coffee shop, let it in within 30 minutes to an hour, it'll hit me pretty good. And I'll just write on that. It makes me feel silly, makes me feel happy, fun, and that blind bit, everything that tails off into was when I was like on shrooms. Microdosing.
Yeah,
I've never been super tripping, but
because explain to folks that they should be familiar with microdosing, but if they're not, what is the intention with microdosing?
Honestly, I use it kind of like an antidepressant, anti-anxiety. Yeah. It just makes you feel happy. It makes you feel hopeful. It makes you feel like you can do what you want to accomplish. It makes you want to go out there and write and or work, do anything you want to do. Just have a good day. You can take it before you work. You can take.
Are you feeling high?
Barely, a little bit. Yeah,
I gotcha.
Yeah, I take about half a gram or a little bit less.
Okay.
Because I know you've done shrooms a couple times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I take about half a gram. This last weekend though was the first time I got a new strain from this girl that I buy it from, and she said the one I've been doing is a beginner strain.
Okay.
This last weekend I went to write and I really couldn't write because it was one of the more advanced strains.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it hit me hard.
Because you took the same dose, but it was a stronger.
Yeah. I took I think I took 0.6 grams, so a little bit more, but of the advanced version. Yeah. And I remember I was at the coffee shop and I was like getting ready to write, and it was just like I've never felt that feeling. Like your whole body's buzzing, your mind's buzzing. I told my girlfriend because she likes to microdose too, and I was just like, all right, I was like, it's hitting kind of hard. I recommend like one. It's a little more visual. I'm starting to see things, whatever. I told her like, just take one. And I remember I looked up and I said visual, just like things stood out to me, like shadows and things like that. But there's a huge, like where the register is and like they have all their muffins and stuff. That fucking thing was rocking like a boat left and right. And then the floor started breathing. And then I was like, it was hard for me to write because I'm like, I felt like I was like in a living being. I was looking around at everyone there. I'm like, you guys don't understand. We're in this fucking, thing that's breathing and exists. I was like, and then I started just thinking crazy. I'm like, our structures, do they have a mind? Do they exist? Do we just not know something? And I couldn't write stand up. I just sat there, listened to nice music. What I like to do is listen to 80s music, just like fun, dumb. Like I wouldn't even call it dumb. I like the Cars a lot. That's like I'm into like emo bands and just rock and stuff. Yeah, dude. But the Cars, like my dad loved that band growing up, and they're like one of my favorite bands now. So I'll listen to like 80s music, or girls just want to have fun. I like something to get you silly and whatever. So I just started listening to that because I was like, that helps me get into the writing mode. But I couldn't write. I was like, this feeling's too strong. These visuals are too. I was like, I can't fucking write jokes right now. So I just enjoyed it. But like, I literally wasted 2 hours just sitting there looking like a crazy person. Like at that.
Yeah, but it was an experiment at that point. It was an experiment, and then you still had an experience. And you know what, man, you had a loving moment because you were looking around and you're like, man, like I'm in a place with these other humans and we're whole, we're one right now. We're experiencing each other.
It's funny because shrooms does do that to you. Yeah, like I've go to that same coffee shop because I feel like habits are big too in terms of writing. Like you want to establish good habits, right? Yeah. So you do the same thing at the same time. The only reason I do like that coffee shop. And but the only reason I go there is because I know when I go there, I've tricked my dumb animal human brain into being like, you're here, you're getting the same coffee, you're sitting in the same seat if it's open, and you're just tricking your mind into being like, okay, it's writing time.
Yeah.
Like I do that. So I go there all the time, and I've been there in shrooms multiple times. And when it's hitting me good, you do look around at everybody, and I could see this person smiling and they're happy, and I could see this. It's like you almost absorb. It sounds crazy, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you absorb the energy, and I see the workers, and if they're smiling and laughing, it's like, everything in here is good. There's just, I hate to be the guy that's like, oh, good vibes and all this stuff, but it's like, it kind of is true really to me sometimes, especially when you're on that and on a certain level like that. You're like, whoa, this is really cool, and everyone's good and having a great time. It's like, I feel your emotions, and I'm going to suck some of it into me because I want to be good too and have that. And it's a trip. I've never done a lot. I want to one day, I think. Yeah. But how many have you taken, like grams wise?
5. Yeah.
5?
Yeah.
Fuck.
The
first time like a whole
5.
bar, dude. I've done 2.5 is the most I've done, and I got scared at how I felt because it does. You get that buzz, like your mind's buzz. Like it's like it's like you're what are those music things where you hit it and it just starts ringing? Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know.
Just a tuning fork?
Yeah, like I feel like that, but for my mind, like I get hit. They're cops or firefighters or something.
Probably firefighters.
Oh hell yeah! All right,
sound like a big truck. No, yeah. The first time I did it was I did it with intent. I always do it with intention.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna, and you are too. Microdosing is with intention. You know.
Yeah.
It's. You know, if you're feeling really high, you're doing too much for microdose, right? So you're just supposed to, like, again, take it as an antidepressant, you know. So if you're taking antidepressant medication, you know, find a way to wean off of that and take the natural stuff, man. Just you shouldn't feel high, you know, if you're gonna use it as a microdose. You just use it like coffee. And I mean, nowadays we abuse caffeine, you know, guilty, you know, as well. But yeah, the first time I did it, it's like you do have to lay down. Yeah, but when you do that much, like I have to lay down, I have to move a bit, and it's humming. You're taking in all this information. And I remember I was at my mom's house, dude. It was only like 4 years ago, you know, but I had done all this research, much research as we can do by Googling and YouTube and listening to podcasts and whatnot. But all these people I looked up to, man, you know, had great things to say about LSD and mushrooms and just having a moment, a spiritual awakening or whatever you want to call it, man. But like to me, set and setting is huge, which is why what we talked about before we started the podcast, what happened over the weekend, like the set and setting was not good. So, you know, that was abused in that sense. But I knew it too going to my mom's house because, you know, I'm a self-proclaimed atheist. And she's Catholic, and there's Virgin Marys all over the walls. There's crosses all over the walls, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna do shrooms there. But I didn't have any qualms with that, man, because I was like, you know what, man, I just want to experience this and see what it has to say and do. And I remember calling my mom out from the room, and she was worried. She's like, because, you know, she's of the ilk of the days of drugs are bad and only bad people do them, you know. And it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what if you like have this freak out and you overpower me? And I'm like, oh, it's not gonna happen. Like, this is not what you think it is, you know. And I remember I called her out of the room, and I was like, I need a notebook. I need to write all this stuff down. And I had this I was like, I get it, you know, where you see like the mad scientist that's like running around having to write stuff down. And I remember I was like, I got to write all these ideas down. And I only got to write one thing down because so much was coming in. I couldn't stop enough to write it down. So I understand where you were like, this is too much.
Yeah.
This is too much because I can't grasp this enough.
Dude, I was getting crazy.
But what's crazy is that you download it. You see it. It might be too much for you to write down, but you download it. And it's not like me telling you. It's me touching you and showing you, and you understand like that. It's so different.
Yeah, like when you're on shrooms, like you download certain. Yeah, no, it's absolutely. I use it. I like to use it for writing, but I also like depression, anxiety, and all these things, and to just try to better myself as a person, which sounds weird, but people don't understand that unless they start doing it.
Exactly.
And like I'm a very hard on myself type person, and I remember one time I was on it, and now I know what you say when you're if you're high. You're not microdosing, right? Because so Tuesdays and Thursdays are my one chocolate a day, of it. not high, just feeling good, whatever.
Yeah.
Saturdays, I do take a little bit more, 2 at least, maybe 2.5, to try to get a little bit high, just to start my weekend off good. I take it by like 9 a.m. I'm riding by 10 till like 12:30 or 1.
Yeah.
So I do get high on Saturdays a little bit off of it.
Yeah.
And like I've had like experiences where I'm so hard on myself, I'm so hard on the small things. I remember one time I watched one of the...
Real quick, dude, why does it feel weird? You have to like, I do get a little high. Dude, you know how many people go out and binge drink on Mill Ave?
Yeah.
And that's literal poison.
Yeah.
And nobody frowns at that. Nobody's like, oh, like, obviously like, oh, maybe you shouldn't drink that much. But they're not like, oh, what? You did that? And it's like, and then here we are like talking about like something that grows in the ground that's so fucking...
And just not doing even that much of it.
Exactly.
I'll just say it here because I don't think I'll be able to make it, but I feel like I was writing a bit on alcohol and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, they've pulled something over us.
Yeah.
They've convinced you that like, go to a bar, drink 12 of these and you're fucking cool, dude. Go out there. It's like, you go to Starbucks and try to order 12 consecutive coffees and keep drinking. They're going to think you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
They might call the cops on you if you do that, right? Yeah. But you can go and drink this thing that's way worse for you than anything else in the world.
It makes a lot of people violent.
Dude, yeah. Like most problems probably derive from alcohol. I think most problems after 8 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever, like for sure derive from alcohol. And it's marketing. It's
everywhere.
Yeah, it is insane, and it's the worst thing. And that's again, I mean, if you want to take a look outside of it, like, do they really care about you when they can like make weed and shrooms and things? When I started taking shrooms, dude, I started getting mad. Where I'm like, how is this not like a thing that's out there? Because it helped me almost instantly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you pieces of shit are not allowing this, so that you could get me into conspiracy theories or go crazy, but I really do think pharmaceutical companies have a grasp on everything that's going on in the world, and they can control what's out there, what's not, and they've put a hard block on that kind of stuff to make their money. And it's like, you're hurting a lot of people at this point in time, and that's what bothers me personally.
Exactly.
But you're able to get it pretty easy now, like especially from California and things like that. I get it out here all the time. But it did bother me when I took it, because I'm like, that's so fucked up, because this helps my girlfriend. My girlfriend hates drugs. She doesn't do any drugs, but she'll microdose. She's never taken more than 1 square ever. Oh, she's taken like 1.5, but she's never, I don't think she's ever been like really high on it. But she's like, this is great. And it's like, it is so great for a lot of people. And I'm so sorry, I don't remember what I was talking about.
You were mentioning you did 1.5 to start your Saturday off, right? Oh
yeah, 2.5, but I forget what I was going in that direction. I saw an accident happen at the coffee shop. The worker crashed into somebody and with their coffee, and it spilled everywhere, and that person felt bad. And I saw them both. I was like observing it, and then that girl went to her boyfriend and was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot, blah, blah. And I saw that worker go over to someone like, I'm such an idiot. And I was like, this is such a trivial, small little thing that happened, and you guys are all freaking out over the craziest thing or the smallest thing. I was like, you both feel so bad. And it's like, even just having 10 minutes of feeling bad about that should not even happen. And that person ended up getting their coffee again, and she ended up cleaning up, and it was over. And I thought to myself, I was like, you get mad at yourself so many times for such small things like that all the time, and ruin like an hour or two of your day. And it was like a moment in my life where I was like, oh shit, like stop doing that to yourself. Stop getting mad about small things. And how you were saying like shrooms can help you. That was probably one of the aha moments I had where I was like, oh yes, of course. Like, sometimes people say like, hey, you don't need to be bad about that. And but now I try to actively not be, because of watching that and being in that state of mind on that understanding of.
Well, that's the beautiful thing of that, of those drugs, is that it does open your mind to see it logically in a different point of view.
Yes, different point of view is perfect.
When
I'm on shrooms, that's not normal me. It's almost like the better version of yourself. It's right.
It's the divinity. It's the divine.
Yeah.
That's what I battle as an atheist. And I say an atheist, but like I can't say that there is no God. And once you're in that realm and you see how all this stuff kind of makes sense on how everything's connected, then you're like, okay, I mean, I'm not a religious person at all, but is there something else happening behind the scenes? it feels like it. Now, is there a plan? Is there? No, I don't think any of that shit. But there's something else out there that we can't tune into when we're sober. But when we open up or when we allow those drugs to open up our senses, it is the divine. If people want to call it a God or whatnot, you know, the understanding, which then you start going down the rabbit hole of like all religions. I mean, if you look at most tribe and native religions, they all had a ceremony involving a mind altering substance to allow you to tap into the divine power. And I think that's what it is. It's we balance the divinity versus our human side of it. Because when I told you the last time I was in this apartment complex was when I did a pretty big dose. And it was when I had just moved out of my the house, you know, with my wife at the time, my ex-wife, and the kids. And I just moved out. And, you know, it was like just forgive, always forgive, love above all else, like no matter what. And that's the divine speaking to me. But then it's like you have to come to reality and the human side aspect of it, and, you know, just, you know, hold people accountable and all that. So it's that balance. And so that's why when you see something like that, it's like, why are you guys fretting over something so small?
Yeah, it's funny you're saying that because you're saying forgive, but then you come back and you say, but there's accountability. I feel like it's like a window. You walk into the other side, find out what you need to find out, hold and bring what you can with you from that trip back to the human side. But it's not the whole thing, because you come back to be human again. You come back to being like, you fucking cut me off on the road or whatever the hell it was. But in the back of your mind, you do have little pieces from that trip you had that will help you. And the more you do it, I'm not saying like get blitzed on it every fucking weekend or whatever.
You
but
can't. You really can't. No, I can't. The last time I did them, they were mad at me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, microdosing, I do it pretty, but it's a small part. Yeah, yes. I've never gotten crazy on it, but I do want to, just to see what it's like.
You literally don't want to. Like, I mean, you want to in the sense of like, wow, that was great and all that, but then you also have to process. You have to process what you went through. Like dude, I have a chocolate bar in my freezer that I got on my birthday in 2022.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So like I don't like I have it and I will microdose. You know, say I'm going to a concert, I'm calling Uber, take it, take a little square, go up, and I'm feeling good, man. I'm vibing with the crowd, the band, like, you know, we're in it, you know. But like, yeah, you do 5 grams. You don't want to do that again, dude.
That makes sense,
because you have to process,
dude. Like I said, I only did 2.5 of my thing. Whether that's like probably 0.7, 0.8. Even that scared me. Mm-hmm. Just like that, I was like, this can be really intense,
and especially the strain, depending on the strain too.
Yeah, this is the first time I've gotten a different strain. That's when I saw the fucking everything moving.
Yeah,
and she did say, like, just so you know, this is more like I was doing the Golden Teachers. I don't know.
That's the first one I did.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that's the first one you should probably do. Yeah, and from my experience.
Yeah, and then the new one I have right now is Shakti or Shakti or something like that, and it's very. I like it. It's cool, but the Golden Teachers is more like mellow to me. I've done 2 of that one. It wasn't too crazy. This one really couldn't even write. But I was like, you know what? Just take the time, sit, listen to music, and accept this moment. And that's something that I am not. I'm so like, if you're not writing, you're not working forward towards something, fuck everything. This is pointless. But I was able to just sit back and be like, no, just accept this feeling. Yeah.
No, live, man. And just live.
And that's what helps me do that, which is crazy. Yeah. Or a good thing.
It is. It's all that. Yeah. Golden Teachers, great one. A lot of visuals. The idea I had that I wrote down was headphones, but that go down kind of like the spine here, and that pulses with the beat on your cerebral the cord right there, right? So that was the idea I had, because as I was coming to, I threw on the headphones, my earbuds, and then I had a speaker. I threw on the speaker and I put it right back here, and I was laying on the couch, and so it was vibrating here, and it's like you can hear so many other things in the music that you've heard over and over. And I have my own playlist. I mean, I literally my Bluetooth headphones that I have, I named them NetherRealm Ambassadors, because I throw them in, take my dose, and I'm into like the next, not even the next realm, because you're present, man. But I want to dance. I want to move. I get physical. You move. You have to lay down. You get up. You cry. You just have all these introspective thoughts. So the golden teacher is definitely more visual. Really, really love. Penis envy is the other one.
That's one that the person I get from has that one.
Yes.
They're out of it right now.
It's more introspective.
Okay.
It's more like analytical. So that's why, like, with me, I was analyzing that relationship. And I had another moment where I had gone to the bathroom, that bathroom, because the layout's the same, right? And there was 3 lights, and I went to the bathroom, and it was casting 3 different shadows. And I was like, oh, dude, like, I am one person, but I cast multiple shadows depending on who is teaching me, or the lessons I'm getting from this person, who I perceive myself to be in that moment. And that's what, like, I was like, wow, like, this is it. Like, because we are different depending on who we are around and who you surround yourself with.
Dude, that's so funny because I forget what bit I was trying to work on about this, but it was about just human beings and who you are as a person, and it was involving death and stuff. And I've never gotten to work yet. Hopefully one day I can. But I remember while writing it, I was thinking about it. I was like, who are we even as a person? And this was when I was on Golden Teachers, just like microdosing on it. But I was like, I am who I think I am, and to my girlfriend, I'm someone else. To my mom, I'm someone else. To you, I'm someone else. To this fucking lady I just got coffee from, I'm just the guy that gets a fucking mocha on Saturdays and sits down. To some person there, they just see me and be like, oh, look at that guy with the long hair or whatever. Fuck that guy or whatever. Like, you are so many. What version is really you? Yeah. I mean, they all are you. Yeah. They're just different points of view from different people. How my girlfriend's brother views me, from her mom to, it's insane. It's like we're thousands of different people at once. Yes. Like, it's crazy. And to that's think
why you are me. If I lived, or if you lived my existence, you would be me. And that's why, like, if you can view the world in that sense, then, like, we would give everybody a little bit more grace.
That's something I think about too, is like, everyone's lived different lives. Everyone has different brain chemicals. And I think everyone in the end is the same and is doing as good as they can with what they're doing.
With the tools that they have.
Yeah. So if my brain chemicals were off, and then I live someone else's life, so I'd probably be making the same exact decisions as that person. But I've been only given my life, so I can only tell you what I think is right from my perspective. Yeah. But every single other person, even people in the same family, your parent was 26 when you had you, and then your last kid, they were 38. They're going to have different parents. Oh, yeah. They're going to have different lives. They're not just, it's so crazy how the world is. And we're just making all these, and I'll tell you this idea this thought I had, because I couldn't write like jokes, so I'm writing what I'm thinking. Yeah. Oh, okay. And then so I was just writing down about the world, and like I was a lot on like social media and stuff, and saying all these things about like, oh, fuck Trump or fuck Harris or fuck all these things. And I realized like a lot of their things that they write, it's all just, it's either lies or just like as worse as possible they can write about someone that possibly isn't true, but they're just saying these bad things about everybody, just trying to get their point across. Like, don't vote for this and for this reason. And I started thinking about it. I was like, this world, it's like, it's all these people, and we have all our own perception and how we view the world, and we're just throwing everything we want out there. And the internet's allowed us to just throw out either lies or bullshit or whatever. And I think it's tilting the world off axis, because now everyone's viewing it through this.
Well, and it gives you an echo chamber.
Yeah. So when you say this, everyone, you're saying it to only the people that believe you. Like, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Either agree with you or disagree with you, which makes you dig your heels in. Yeah. Because they're going to be like angry disagreement with you, instead of just like, hey, let's try and be logical with this. Yeah. Even then, even if it starts logical, like the first 2 comments could be like logical, but then it's just like, why isn't this person agreeing with me? And then you just tear into them. The other thing I experienced too was in my separation, was you almost had to paint this person in such a light that it's like, well, I can't possibly stick around because they're this way. I can't possibly, like, they're just the worst. And it was like, no, that's not how I felt. I just felt that we just weren't compatible in this moment, and this person wasn't working at bettering themselves. And why am I gonna, I've extent with my tool set what I can in this relationship, and now I have to bow out because they're not willing to meet me halfway. Yeah, that's it. And I had to fight that feeling or that need to just like paint this person in such a light that it's like, oh, it's the most vile, it's the most and it's like, no, it's not. I still have a tremendous love for this person, but it's just like we just were not seeing eye to eye. We could not find a way.
And that's the best way to look at it, I think. Like that's maturity. Did you get that through doing shrooms?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just everything, but yeah. I mean, just taking in information. I'm just constantly taking in podcasts and perceptions and all that. Like I have trouble sitting in the silence for a bit, because I just feel like you, it's like I could be writing, I could be working towards, I could be gaining some knowledge, and it's like every now and then I have to, like, that's what Sheila is so good with, is just like being, the Tao, just be, the way there's no stress in that sense, just be. And part of me is just like, no, you should be working harder than someone else at this, that.
Yeah, that's fun, because I work from home. I'm lucky enough to work from home still, and like if I don't have a podcast on or like a audiobook or something, I'm like, you're wasting your time. You could be learning something while you're work. Like I'm like, I have to be. Then that's two things at once. Like people used to just work in silence and do their fucking work. Now I'm like, you have the opportunity to learn something, so you better fucking be listening to something, a comedy podcast or an audiobook on anything. And yeah, it's that work mentality. It can drive you to an early grave, like if you're too crazy about it. So I like people that can just sit back and chill, and I'm trying to do that. Also, I think my arm breaking got me into that, because my girlfriend was trying to leave, and I was like, I need to get this done right now. Just like hand me I just got up there and I was like, hand me the thing and I'm gonna do it. She's like, I need to go. I'm like, just do it. And like I was rushing, and I think that was kind of like the universe being like,
here you go,
settle the fuck down, dude. Like you're rushing everywhere. And that's when I was doing stand-up as much as I could. That's when I was working out as much as I could. I was like, I'm gonna get strong, I'm gonna do this. And like, and it's like, I think the universe was telling me like, chill, you can get back to what you want to do, but if you keep like just go, maybe I would die at like 50 of a stroke, because I was so like anxious and like rushing everywhere. And
that's true.
Sometimes things like that happen in your life to make you learn a lesson.
An injury, man. It is. You're supposed to reflect on, okay, why is this upon me now all of a sudden, Yeah, like I took like the last 2 weeks off of like really working out as hard as I was, because my lower spine was hurting, and then all of a sudden it gravitated towards this, and I couldn't really rotate, and I'm just doing too much. And so it sucks, because I'm like, here I probably gained like 8 pounds or whatever, and I'm just like, I'm feeling doughy, and like I know I'm probably losing my cardio, my stamina right now, because I'm not doing anything. And then today I was at work, and I was like, I'm feeling pretty good, and I was feeling limber. I was jumping around a bit, and I banged out 20 push-ups like nothing. I was like, what? I was like, even when I was working out a lot, I just wasn't giving my body enough time to just like recover. And now it's had like 2 weeks to just like repair. And I just hit them, and I go, whoa, dude. Okay, man, recovery. And I know this, man. I read a book on sleep and how important sleep is. It's like, evolutionarily speaking, why would our body have to sleep for a third of the waking day, right? Why? Where we're in such danger of being eaten by a predator. That's because that's where all the growth happens, is when you rest. And so a moment to step back and maybe not do a mic for 3 weeks or so, and then you come back, and it's like going on vacation from work, and you come back, and you're like, all right, I'm back, we're in this, like, let's hit it. It's like you need to reset.
Yeah, it did that, and also like empathy for me. Like I've had injuries before, so like whenever I saw people injured, I'd be like, oh, okay, what? Like I've broken elbows, hands, torn ligaments, but I was always lucky. It was always like it's like the least amount of injuries. Gotcha. Like never had surgery, never had this. This one, everything was worse. I was supposed to go in for an hour and a half. I was in 3.5 hours of surgery the first round. Anything that could have went wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh, so now when I see people, I started to say like before, like I didn't care. I'd be like, oh, that sucks. But now I'm like, oh my God. Like I actually ask questions. I'm like, what's going on? Do you have to do this? You have to do that? Or is this?
Well, and they sense it now from you too, right?
They could probably see it for reals. Yeah. Like I actually care. I'm like, like I know what it's like to like.
Well, and that's the benefit of experiencing what you did, is that now you can pass off more empathy and more understanding to the next person that's going through their shit, and be like, man, you know what? That guy really felt what I was going through.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like an asshole not understanding that before, but I consider myself a genuine and real person, and I don't think I can understand anything until you go through it. You can only try to, and as best you can, but until you go through something that sucks, can you really understand it, right? And now, just because I didn't break my leg doesn't mean I don't know what it's like to be fucked up for almost a whole year and go through physical therapy for a very long time and have multiple surgeries and all that kind of shit. So now it's like, no matter what body part can be injured, I can understand like what that's basically like. Yeah. Especially like fucking something that moves, like your elbows, ankles, like it's bad. It's dumb. Elbow was I was trying to think like back. I'm like, could I have fallen any differently?
Yeah,
but
right.
But I don't know, if I used my shoulder, I would have maybe hit my head, and that would have been really bad.
Man,
so it's just like, maybe this was the best way, and this was the way the universe was telling me, like, slow the fuck down.
Yeah, because I mean, if you hit and you just walk up, you're like, oh, dude, what the fuck? And then you didn't learn anything.
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
Just like, oh, God. Now you're mad.
Yeah,
because you're like, But now it's like you had to really see, the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, just like, me being like, I gotta get this up right now. Like, just give it to me. I know you have to leave, but give it to me right now. And yeah, we were talking about the other day on shrooms, just how like maybe it was, although it sucked, maybe it was kind of worth going through. And it definitely, it does change you and stuff, how you look at a lot of things. Like I was saying that Trevor Moore, he fell off his balcony, basically the same height, died.
That's true.
The people at the hospital, they x-rayed everything because I was limping. My knees were messed up. My ankle was messed up. My hip, even my shoulder pops and cracks now. And they're like, wait, so just your elbow and wrist are the only things that are broken? They're like, most people that fall, it's like femurs, back breaks, neck breaks. They're like, you got really lucky. Like, you could have had it way worse. So it was, I guess, best case scenario for me.
Yeah.
For that.
All things considered. Damn, dude. Huge. Well, dude, tell people how they can follow you.
I have Instagram at SpennyG. I do have X, I guess is what it's weird calling X. Right. I think it's just Spencer Gaspar there.
Yeah.
And those are the only spots. I don't have a TikTok yet. I should probably get a TikTok. Or maybe not. I don't know.
We'll get one for the sketch show.
Yeah. I was about to say, we should really try to put that together. I do have people I've talked to about this, and I have a guy that's into film and stuff that has a crew and would like to film and things like that. Knows a lot about that kind of stuff. So
perfect. I mean, I'm at that point where I might just reach out to a production company already and just be like, let's get the ball rolling, because I just can't. Editing to me is like I'm just like
if I was, so editing would be the thing like I would want the most control on. That's my favorite part, and that's what I think makes things is editing. So I would, if we had a production company, film it and miking is big, like sound, all that kind of shit, and then just give it to you can come over and we just fucking edit it on the computer. That's fun to me. Have a few beers and just go through it. Yeah. But I feel like, because especially someone that wanted to direct, like you have in your mind the vision of like, want this way. So I don't know. Sorry if I'm talking too much about the editing stuff. I love that kind of stuff, and it's cool that we talked about this because I'm serious about it. So and when this is done, we could probably talk a little bit more as all the packing up's going.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
And then you're hosting mics.
I host an open mic at BRI with Anthony Ron and Matthew Delgado. It's a fun mic. Nice. Goes really well. And always have like 18, 22 comics come through. And we usually have an audience, 8 to 10 people, regular people. And we're getting regulars that keep coming through because they're liking it and stuff. And they're liking it at BRI, and it's becoming a pretty decent mic, I think. We're growing it, and it's good. So
it's a good time every time I go.
Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Sign-ups at 7:30.
Bang.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Follow Spenny G on all the, not the TikToks, but on the Instas and all the socials. And until next time, stay freaky.
Hell yeah.
This is the first time I've ever said that.
I thought that was going to be your, like, that's like, you say it every time.